We might be one of the only Australian companies here, so I'm very proud to be at PDAC this year. So I'm Scott Williamson, the Managing Director of Blackstone Minerals, and we're listed on the Australian Stock Exchange with the code BSX. We believe that we are exploring potentially one of the last underexplored nickel sulfide districts left in the world today. So we're in northern Vietnam. We have the option to purchase this existing nickel mine that operated from 2013 to 2016. The previous owners were a company listed on the TSX called Asian Mineral Resources, and they sunk over $130 million of capital into the infrastructure. They only operated it for 3 years at some of the most difficult nickel prices we've seen in the last decade. The problem they had is they didn't actually explore. So as an exploration company, we believe there's potential for a 10 to 20 year nickel mine here, and all we've done is just turn the drill rigs on, and we're already making some very interesting discoveries. So we have a full portfolio of assets, and unfortunately today we'll only be able to talk about our flagship asset, but we do have base and precious metals and battery metals throughout the globe. As most of the companies today, we've got a nice tight capital structure and a very supportive shareholder base. Board and management own 17% of the company. We have a very supportive shareholder in Germany, a fund called Deutsche Balaton, owns 16%. Well funded for this next phase of drilling and studies and our maiden resource. We have a board and management team that have been working together for 20 years across all continents. The partnership between Hamish Halliday and Steve Parsons. Steve Parsons recently took a little company called Bellevue Gold Limited from $5 million market cap to over $350 million. So there's a history of taking very small companies, making major discoveries and creating shareholder wealth through value creation. So this is why we're here, and Joe touched on this very well, so we won't go into too much detail, but basically we have a very strong relationship with the battery end users in South Korea, and that was those battery end users that said to us just over 12 months ago, by the way, can you go and look for some nickel sulfide, because we're increasing the nickel and we're reducing cobalt in our battery cathode chemistry. And we looked all around the globe, and it was very difficult to find belts that hadn't been mined and explored. And we believe that we've got one of the last known underexplored magmatic nickel sulfide belts in northern Vietnam. So this is a great snapshot of what we're trying to achieve. So the existing mine infrastructure, there's an existing concentrator, an existing underground mine. This is an underground mine that was built as if it was in Australia. So modern mechanised underground mining with jumbos and large trucks. We believe we're probably looking at something that's more like an open pit because we're drilling this ore body that was left behind. It's 1 kilometre long, 500 metres wide. It's a large disseminated nickel sulfide ore body. The previous owners were looking for massive sulfide, and they drilled and mined that first target and got to the bottom of that mine and didn't do any further exploration. So we've just turned the drill rigs on and started drilling this very large ore body right next to the existing mine infrastructure. So I've got the concentrator. We will need to upgrade the concentrator, but most importantly, we believe the best way to produce nickel sulfate for the battery industry is through nickel sulfides, and we will build a downstream processing facility that will feed into a electric vehicle and a lithium-ion battery hub, which is emerging in the northern Vietnam. So LG Chem have a joint venture partnership with a local company called VinFast. VinFast are looking to build electric scooters and electric vehicles in country. So we can take the nickel all the way from our mine all the way through into a lithium-ion battery and into an electric vehicle in northern Vietnam. We have one of the lowest labour costs and some of the lowest power costs in the world. So we have the largest hydropower plant in Southeast Asia, exists in our province, in the Son La province, near 6 hours out of Hanoi. So So this is a quick video of some of the infrastructure that's been left behind by the previous owners. They've sunk over $130 million. So it's a 450,000 tonne per annum processing plant. We think we'll need to increase that to 2 to 3 million tonnes per annum to mine that large disseminated ore body that's been left behind. So the vendor is actually a metallurgist, so he's kept this little plant in great working order. It's ready to go. We can turn this on whenever we're ready. There's an existing underground mine. So this is a large, modern mechanised underground mine built to an Australian standard by Australian mining contractors. And we're drilling away, 4 drill rigs, just systematically drilling out that large disseminated ore body. As we started the drilling process, we've actually made a new discovery. We're calling it the King Cobra discovery. It's a shallow, high-grade discovery from surface, running discovery hole 60 metres at 1.3% nickel, plus platinum, palladium, gold, copper and cobalt. To put 1.3% nickel in perspective, this is equivalent of 4 grams per tonne gold from surface. So we're talking about a 4 gram per tonne open pit scenario with all the infrastructure ready to go. $250-person camp. So that infrastructure sits in the middle of a belt. We have a full belt full of nickel sulfide. We have 25 advanced stage massive sulfide outcropping, undrilled and untested. Each of those targets has come from a magmatic nickel sulfide intrusion. So that we have years worth of exploration ahead of us, and our initial exploration will be focused around that concentrator that we just saw in the video. So we were systematically drilling through this ore body. This is 1 kilometre long, half a kilometre wide, and we've struck some very high grade from surface. So that's the King Cobra discovery hole. What we now realise is that King Cobra zone is over 200 metres long. So we're looking at a starter pit from surface running 3 to 4 grams per tonne gold. We've got the platinum, palladium and gold credits of about 0.3 up to 1 gram per tonne. So we were systematically drilling this lower zone, and we've hit the high-grade King Cobra zone. We think that could be a secondary pulse or a second phase of mineralisation. And what that is exciting is because that could lead us down dip towards what they call the feeder zone, or the source of all this mineralisation, which could be a large, massive sulfide chamber at depth. This is a bit of a snapshot of some of our peers in Australia. So the Australian mining scene seems to value nickel sulfide very well. We had a major discovery recently by a group called Independence Group. That took over a group called Sirius. So we've always been able to get very good valuations for nickel sulfide. We believe that as we deliver the maiden resource and the scoping study, maiden resource will be in Q2 and scoping study in early Q3, we will re-rate and trade more in line with our peers with up to $100 and $200 million market caps. Currently $22 million market cap. I think the coronavirus has actually reduced our market cap by 50% since about a month ago. So we have an international portfolio of battery and precious metals projects. Our flagship asset is the Tarkwa Nickel Sulfide District. We are continuing to drill out that large Bandfook disseminated ore body. We'll have a maiden resource in the next 3 to 6 months, followed very soon after by a scoping study, or the equivalent of a PEA. We're looking at producing nickel sulfate for the lithium-ion battery industry. We have an MOU with EcoPro, which is Korea's largest cathode manufacturer. These battery end users are ready and willing to fund the downstream processing facility, so we have very strong relationships with the battery end users. That means that we can limit the dilution to the Blackstone shareholders. We're well funded to deliver this next stage of news flow. We've got a proven track record of major discoveries and creating shareholder wealth. So thank you for your time.